All right. What's going on, everybody? Today we have a very special guest. He was a security engineer in Silicon Valley. He has a deep understanding of, tech in general, the Richard Hart ecosystem, the game theory, but even more than that, he's also well versed in the Richard Hart philosophy in Scivive. So um, he's not only a student of the crypto aspect of the Richard Hart environment, the ecosystem, but the philosophy as well, which is going to be very interesting. And I'm very thankful for him coming on my stream and being the first streamer in the Hex ecosystem to have me on. So it's going to be very exciting. How you
Yeah,
doing?
man. Doing great, doing great. Yeah, I'm glad we could get together again. I know the last stream we did was super fun. So, yeah, I'm excited to get into it with you and just grok on some cool concepts. It's not a boring bear market, not a boring one this time.
Not not boring at all.
No.
That we could definitely agree on. So I guess now that you're normally the interviewer, but today the roles are reversed. So could we
Yeah.
get like a little background on you? You could be as brief or as lengthy as you prefer.
Yeah. I mean, I've been, I guess the canonical story I tell is started following Richard in 2017. Got into crypto around 2016, and shortly afterward, thankfully, I came across some of his content. I was at a party, and one of my friends were like, "Hey, have you ever seen Richard Hart? Have you ever watched any of his videos? He thinks Ethereum's like really bad. He says, it's going to zero, all this stuff." And I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. I've looked at Ethereum before. I was really big into Bitcoin and Ethereum when I first got in, and I saw Ethereum, and I looked at it from an engineering perspective too. And I'm like, this stuff makes sense. Like, it's awesome. Like, I don't know why would somebody be railing against Ethereum? And so I went and watched a bunch of his videos, and his arguments for attack surface and smart contracts and the security risks, all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but like that's how innovation works. You got to have like you got to be able to put all the pieces together to make something cool. Otherwise, you're just Bitcoin and you're just like money, and that's fine, or your value, store of value, and that's fine. But you can't build upon stuff like that, as he talks about now. So that got me interested in watching his stuff. And at the time, it was really good timing because I was looking for a mentor in crypto. I just got in, like I said, and I really didn't. I was trading back and forth. I was doing some stuff. Went through all the shitcoin phase, all that stuff, but I really didn't know like I didn't know what direction to go in. I didn't know what was healthy. I didn't know how to be successful in crypto. I was just trying a bunch of different things. And what really hooked me for him and following after that was just his self-development, his self-help stuff. I watched all of his videos, all of his, how to stop playing video games, even though I don't play video games already. I was like, yes, I'm super on point with everything you just said. I'm glad you got that content out there. How to stop playing poker, how to give good apologies, all that stuff. And then I came across his books, Scivive and Fix the World. I think maybe Scivive just at that time. Fix the World might have came out a little bit later. And I thought, wow, this guy's a self-help author. He's, he's been in Bitcoin since whatever, 2010, 2012, whatever his greatest hits talks about. He mined it. He been around the community. He was there for all the block size wars and all that stuff. And I thought, wow, this guy's, he's rich. He was rich before crypto. He's been all over the world. He's ate all the things. He's drank all the things. He's traveled everywhere. He looks like somebody who would be a great mentor, just not only in crypto, but just for, a lot of stuff in life I would like to figure out or be help be a better version of myself with. So this was way before Hex. This was, 2017. The top came in, what was that? I guess 2017 Christmas or something like that. And then
19,000.
Yeah, like
19.5.
20K, something like that. And I remember him calling the top, all that stuff. And I was like, he's maybe not. I really didn't believe it at the time. And then at 2018, it's just like maybe it's two.
Well, sounds familiar.
Yeah, I guess Richard maybe he did call it top. So 2018, 2019 was a funny time in crypto. So this is not my first bear market. This is my second one. But what made it much better was he started talking about Hex. Well, first CFD token, which is another project he wanted to try, but that didn't work out. Website's still up, cfdtoken.net, I believe, if anybody wants to check it out. And you can learn about his first pre-Hex project that he thought about doing with the scientist named David and all this stuff. But then Hex, he started talking about this blockchain CD. I'm like, whoa, blockchain, okay. Sounds interesting. But at the same time, I was like, oh, he's a new founder. He's never did anything like this before. Is it going to be successful? All this stuff. But so I had my doubts at first, but then I still listened to every live stream he did, listened to all the game theory, listened to him going back and forth, with people, doing all the debates, Roger Ver debate. That was one that onboarded a lot of people. And I just thought, man, he can hold his own against anybody. He just as smart as I thought he was. He's creating a new coin. I'm in. I'm like, let's do this. Let's do this. So then Hex came out, and then it was like, whoa. And then all the stuff happened in 2020, and it was just inflation everywhere. And wow, we got to saw some cool stuff there in 2020, 2021. And then what was it? Was it 2020? Yeah, 2021. Pulsechain. I think summer was sacrifice phase. It's funny. Like I almost separate this into eons. Like I've been following Richard so long. It's like, oh, this was his self-help period, Bitcoin maximalist. This is his Hex period. This is his new founder period. This is his, before that was like the 8-hour live streams in the dark with long hair, debate the lawyers. And then it's Pulsechain, and then, fight all the FUD period and all this stuff. And now we're just in like, okay, bear market, Pulsechain launch sometime, win Pulsechain. Let's just talk about all the stuff going on. So yeah, 2022, following Richard Hart in 2022, you get to see all the diamonds, all the necklaces, all the Gucci, all the Prada. Great song. And it's been a crazy experience going from, I don't think many people have that experience, and not being public in the community either. Like I just started streaming maybe 6 months ago. I had a Twitter account that I publicly interacted with people about the same 6 or 8 months ago, back in February. So I was just kind of passive in the community, but I've been around for a while. I just haven't talked to anyone. I just started to come out, and I always harken back to like, Richard always talks about, what should you do? You should have utility. You should like go do something in the community. You should, pump your own bags. You do the work, all that stuff. And I thought, well, here's a better time than any. At least I'll have a unique story of how, I've been following him forever, but nobody knew who I was until the last few months. So it's funny. I've also been nominated for best new streamer. I'm like on the top 5 on that list or whatever. And it's always funny when I hear, huh?
Just let us know how we could vote for you.
Oh yeah. What is it? KSB.TV, and you can go and go on the Google form for the voting. I think the results will probably not come out till they go on the cruise next year, early in spring. But it's me, Gen Hex, and a bunch of people. But I said that to just say that it's funny to think of myself as like, it's like new Hex, best Hex newcomer. But I'm not really a newcomer. I'm just like a new streamer. So it's always this like funny back and forth on that one. But yeah, that's how I got into it. And then I was trying to come up with a name, and I'm like, Bitcoin, I think maximalism gets a bad rap a lot of times. I think if I'm going to be a maximalist of any person in crypto, it's going to be RH. It's going to be his stuff, his ideals, and not just his products, but his ideals, like his books, his mission. I love the longevity stuff. I love the medical research. I love the, after crypto, we're going to go save people's lives. I love all that stuff. So it's not even about his products. The products are just the cherry on top. The products are just something to talk about and form a community around. But his ideals are what's most important. So I was like, all right, RH Maximalist. We'll shorten it to Max. People can call me Max. And that's it. Just I try not to do anything that I'm not very passionate about, that I don't believe in, that I can't be authentic and have integrity with. And that's why I have no monetization policy on my channel and all that stuff we can get into later. But I wanted to come up with something. I wanted to be a part of the community, bring a healthy form of maximalism, and just show people the power of his ideals, his products, his mission. And that's how I got here today.
And that is an excellent story. And that actually leads me into my first question, like kind of perfectly. It's funny how that works out. So you did mention, maximalism has a bad rap. And I think the stigma really comes from Bitcoin maximalism, because they've had, to be like devil's advocate to the Bitcoin maximalists, Richard alluded to this as well. They're better than like 99% of cryptos.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you
I
just stick with Bitcoin and nothing else, you'd probably be better off than like like most other communities, right?
Well, they're in
But
it for the gold standard. They're in it for the technology, like literally. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's all the memes, all the, back and forth, all this stuff. And it's like, at the end of the day, I think, a lot of it's just outrage marketing that our community does with it like at a technical level. If you like Bitcoin, there's nothing wrong with you. I mean, maybe you don't want the highest appreciating gains of any asset and ever existed. That's totally cool. Like that, you probably still got plenty of money. But I think that's the difference in a Bitcoin maximalist and Hex Max, or not Hex maximalist, like a RH
Arch
maximalist,
Maximalist.
is like, again, let's put it, I guess the ideal, you can have the ideal of Bitcoin, the ideal of financial freedom, the ideal of sovereignty with your money, the ideal of, government not controlling the monetary system, one separate away from that, individual sovereignty, all that stuff, the ideal of Bitcoin. And then you can have the product Bitcoin, which is fine. There's nothing. It's like the gold standard, right? It's like the thing that's going to be there forever. It's going to be there more than, it's going to outlast any other crypto. Hopefully not Hex and all the RH stuff, but it's going to be there when everything else dies. Nothing wrong with it. It's just the other side is like, okay, I want something where that'll make me financially free. That'll make me rich. That'll give me my time back. That'll let me own my own life, become the best version of myself, because I don't think you can become the best version of yourself without being financially free. If you're working 9 to 5 till you're 65, how do you have time to work on yourself and be the best version you could possibly present to the world? I just don't think it's possible. So that's been appealing to me. That's why RH maximalism is more appealing. I love the longevity. I love the research. I love the sovereignty away from financial system and stuff too. We get, at least a little bit of that with RH products. But I like the, it's awesome. He can do all the outreach marketing he wants, whatever. Like, I know his mission. I know what he's in it for. He wants glory. And, I call it trickle down glory. Everybody that's in it with him, they're going to get the glory too, because his stock is only going one direction. That is up and to the right.
We get to ride the coattails. So Bitcoin maximalism. So I was saying that, so Bitcoin is going to, like you said, it's going to be, you're probably better off being a Bitcoin maximalist than the vast majority of other cryptos, because they're either scams or they're just not going to make it, just because most cryptos don't make it.
Sure.
But the thing is, people like to call a RH maximalist like, oh yeah, you're just like the Bitcoin maxis. But I would say that's not true, because Bitcoin maxis, Bitcoin has not adapted, it has not evolved for various amount of reasons, and they're kind of caught in the past. There were all these plans for them to become faster, to become cheaper, I even have smart contracts, upgrades, things like that, and that was all stifled. But in RH maximalism, that's not the case. We are always moving forward. There are always new things and improvements coming to the system. What do you think about that?
Well, I would even say, first of all, like, I don't have a problem with Bitcoin maximalism. You can be an Ethereum maximalist. You can be maximalist. Like, you're not bothering me because you're tribal in one nature or the other. You're not taking away from Hex because you're Bitcoin maximalist, in my opinion. I don't see anyone taking away from our community. So I say to each their own. If you believe in Bitcoin and you want that to be your lifelong thing, go for it. But if you want the things that we value in this community, much more than others, I would say go for that. And the other part is, I think people will get rubbed the wrong way because, you mentioned, maybe there's a Twitter thread, you mentioned Hex to Bitcoin Maxi, and he's like, oh, scam, blah, 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 all this stuff. And of course, the other way around is like, no, Bitcoin's a real scam. And you can have all these like entanglement of, none of it really makes any sense. It's all just like, tribal stuff, in my opinion. It's like, whatever, like, let everyone like what they want to like. So it's not taking away from us. But also it's a healthy, so I think there's some RH maxis. I mean, I'm not saying I see this stuff. I'm just saying in general, I think the perception of RH maxi is not owning any other crypto, not like hating on other groups. Maybe they are like just not, what's the word? Maybe they're just not accepting to new ideals, or maybe they don't like community projects, maybe whatever it is. So the brand of RH maximalism I'm trying to bring is, first of all, start with his ideals. What are his ideals? Scivive, his books, longevity, producing really good products where everyone wins, delayed gratification, all these mental models and stuff that go into it. Take that and then extrapolate the things that are important to you and then promote those ideas. That's all it is. It's not about hating on other groups. It's not about fighting, the stuff. It's not about, and the only thing I would say is I do stay in the RH ecosystem. I don't remember. I don't remember the last time I bought any other coins outside of the ecosystem. I like Hedron. I like Maximus. I like stuff within the air community is building. So I'm not a Hex Maxi. I'm not a Pulsechain Maxi. I'm not a PulseX Maxi. I'm an RH Maxi, and then I participate in the ecosystem of products as well. Things, especially things that I think are good for the blue chips, Hex, Pulse, and PulseX. So I think there's a healthy way to do it. And I think the whole like misnomer of like maximalism is it's a very strict, rigid definition, and it's very tribal, and you just can't, to me, it's just, okay, when you find the best hamburger place, do you like say, okay, I don't want to go there anymore because there's other hamburger place I want to try? Like maybe you do it a couple times, but you keep going back because they have the best stuff. To me, RH has the best stuff. Why wouldn't I want to stay here? To me, it just makes sense. But I don't know. I don't get the tribal aspect of it. It's tribal. I think tribal is good to keep you within your principles, but you don't need to shout at other people about your principles. You can just show them, right? Like I try to show them, like I try to create good content to show them this form of maximalism can help the community and can help us all grow and prosper. And it's not about like the negative aspect. I try to remove as much negative aspect as I can from it. So that's the way I look at it.
Okay. And yeah, fair enough. And hopefully the people from other communities could come around to where they're treated best. And
yeah, well, somebody will be in the chat, like we'll be on the live stream and somebody will be in the chat and they'll ask about some other coin. They'll ask about XRP or something like that. And it's not that I don't want to talk about it. It's just that I'm not here to promote other coins. I'm here to talk about the things in our RH ecosystem. So if you want to like talk about those coins, you totally can. Or if you want to like ask some questions about our community, but it's like, I don't think that's a maximalism thing. Like not going out of my way to talk about other coins. I think that's just common sense when you're within an ecosystem that you think is the best. I don't think that's like a tribal move either, but some people may think differently.
No, I agree. I agree with that 100%. Okay. So obviously with, so the recent FTX situation, basically we had FTX has their native token FTT. This is obviously for the people watching. I'm sure you're very well aware, but they were basically lending that to so they were lending that to Alameda Research, which is Sam Bankman-Fried's hedge fund, and then basically Alameda Research would put that that FTT token on their balance sheet to show that they have a lot of assets, and if they need to be, if they can get liquid easily and pay back creditors, and they have a great balance sheet, things like that. So they're able to go to investors and creditors and get people to put money into their company and lend them money. Then what they would do is they would give that money back to FTX essentially to buy FTT token and then pump the price of that, and then that would make their balance sheet look even better essentially. Basically, so I guess the issue right now is that it got leaked that that's what they were doing, and obviously the regulatory framework for crypto, it's very opaque, and it's not we don't know necessarily if it's illegal, but that obviously worried people that should FTT crash, which it just did, then Alameda Research would be margin called, and that's just complete insolvency because the FTT is not liquid. It's like far greater than the total market cap, like than the amount of FTT trading on the market. So
almost sounds like market cap's a vanity metric, huh?
Someone's
the greatest hit.
Put another penny in the jar, and the Richard Hart was right jar. So I guess what's your take on the situation?
It's interesting because it's definitely the last couple of days. What SBF go on Twitter and he was like, everything's fine. FTX is not solvent. And I was reading the tweet. I'm like, because I always thought the guy, and I still I'll still give him credit. He seems like a guy. He seems like a man of principles. He seems like he wants to do the right thing. He seems like he has conviction in a lot of ways. But when something blows up so quickly, and even I don't think he has the pulse. He has the pulse on everything going on at FTX. So, of course, he's the front man. Of course, he's BitBoys give him a lot of criticism because he's been in front of a lot of the crypto regulation stuff that doesn't look good for the community. But I wouldn't think this wouldn't be one of those like Do Kwon. I wouldn't put him in that category or Mitchimsky. I think that he probably made some business deals. I mean, it sounds like Binance was involved a lot before they got even more involved. And he just kind of lost control of things, what it seems like from the situation right now. So I respect him a lot from being, I mean, he was doing, I mean, FTX, what are they sponsoring, the Philadelphia 76ers? Like there's like an FTX arena.
That's the Miami Heat, right?
Okay. Miami Heat. They have some NBA team. And so I think what they've done is impressive as far, as much slack as I can give them for being a centralized exchange, all this stuff going on. I think what he's built has been impressive. I think it seems like, at least I speculate, he lost control of what I think is going on in the company. And either he made some deals that he wished he wouldn't have made, because now 2 days later, CZ's like, Binance is offering to buy FTX. And everyone's like, whoa, oh, how did that? I thought everything was fine. And then how is FTX like so cheap that even Binance can? I mean, Binance has a ton of money, but it's flipped so quickly. Who knows if Binance is going to buy them? And then if they
bought them, they bought them.
Oh, they actually. So the deal's final. Well,
so this is interesting. So basically, I actually want to get out the CZ tweet if I can.
Okay.
So it's basically they can redact it, like they can go back on their purchase, but as of now, I think they bought them because they basically had a liquidity crisis. So it's interesting. So you're saying that I don't know how this is so much to unpack, like what's going on. So you're saying that
I don't know if the U.S. regulators are going to let it go through anyway. So
okay, so I'm actually going to read his tweet. So this is CZ Binance on Twitter. I don't know if you could see that, but he says this afternoon, FTX asked for our help. There's a significant liquidity crunch. To protect users, we signed a non-binding LOI intending to fully acquire FTX.com and help cover the liquidity crunch. We will be conducting a full DD in the coming days. Meaning FTX, they halted withdrawals, which is interesting because does that mean they were really backed 1-to-1?
Well, I mean, it definitely doesn't sound like if they were backed 1-to-1 as much as you put money in the bank and you're backed to get your money out. It sounds like. I don't know. I think it's too early to tell what's actually going to happen. I mean, CZ said that. I'm sure there's agreement in place, but I mean, Binance is still banned in the U.S. as far as I know. So if they're doing deals with FTX, especially I know they're in the Cayman Islands, all that stuff too, but I don't know. I think regulators might get involved in this, and it may either drag out or change direction, or maybe they just take a huge stake in it and they don't outright buy the company. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be so easy to do as just CZ is laying it out. But that's another guy who gets a lot of crap, and I'm just like, I respect him. I mean, I don't agree with everything he does. Of course, he gets a lot of flack in our community for Binance owning CoinMarketCap and CoinMarketCap gatekeeping Hex and all this stuff. Of course, I don't like that, but man, I got to respect these self-made billionaires in crypto. Like they're doing so much stuff that who else is doing it? Like, where's Peter? Like, I love Peter Thiel, but where's Peter Thiel? Like where is he fighting all this regulation crap? Like where is he? We got these guys in crypto who they're doing something, whether you agree with them or not. SBF, a lot of people disagree with them. CZ does a lot of questionable stuff, but man, they're winning. Like they're winning right now. And hopefully it's good for us too.
So here, if I could get you to maybe put your tinfoil hat on, possibly, here's the question for you. So you had, so what happened was so this came out that FTX was putting, Alameda Research was putting FTT as an asset on their balance sheet. And I think it was a very high percentage. I think it was over 50% of their assets, possibly 80% of their assets were tokens that were created or that Sam Bankman-Fried was heavily involved in their development. So essentially they printed assets on their balance sheet out of thin air, and they went to other hedge funds to get or creditors to get loans and investments and things like that. Which I don't know. I mean, I don't want to, it's nothing's conclusive yet. This is like a very recent development. So when CZ heard this, he announced on Twitter that we have $500 million worth of FTT token that we got from it was basically when it was from their initial they invested in FTX in the beginning, and then they I don't know how you call it, but like they basically separated. So like part of the deal was they would get FTT tokens. Right. So CZ announced like we're going to start selling it. So granted, he said we're not going to sell all right away. We're going to do it over time so we don't crash the price, because that would obviously be bad for crypto. So here's the question. So there's a little bit tinfoil hat, but do you think that? And he also mentioned that like a kind of a backhanded comment saying we don't take kindly to people that lobby behind their backs. He actually said that on Twitter. So do you think CZ was trying to FUD the FTT token to force this cascade so he could come in and buy out FTX and consolidate power and further reinforce his grip on the crypto ecosystem? What do you think about that?
He definitely had some leverage, and he used it. Like the first thing that went through my mind when I heard CZ talk about this today, I was like, "Whoa! I bet they had like some deal. They had some partnership going on, and Binance got they got all the leverage, and then they said, okay, if you don't, maybe they wanted FTX or SBF to do something that they didn't want to do, and they're like, all right, you don't want to do it, all right, we're gonna mess up that price for you. We're gonna do FTT type stuff to you, and then we're gonna acquire you. So it does, yeah. Tinfoil hat, pure speculation. I could totally see a conspiracy of like them trying to take over more crypto companies like that and setting themselves up to have that kind of leverage. And I don't know, if I'm honest, it's like, knowing SBS views and all the stuff, the people railing against him for all the regulation, maybe we want CZ over him. Maybe we want the Wild West Binance here. Maybe we want them more in control than SBF. I don't know. I think this is somebody tweeted about Game of Thrones type stuff. I think this is like a reshuffling. There's a reshuffling of some of the leaders in the industry right now, and hopefully that's a good thing for us. I mean, I'm not saying I like Binance snatching up huge American companies like that. And like I said, I don't know if even the deal is going to go through, if regulators have any leverage on people too. But SBF was not making a lot of friends with all the regulation stuff that he's been advocating recently. So maybe it's a good thing long term.
Yeah, and I mean, talk about taking advantage of an opportunity like CZ. Seemingly, I mean, nothing's conclusive, and we're gonna have to wait a little bit. Time's really gonna tell exactly what went on, but it seems like he really saw an opportunity. He's like, look, I could really, he was more like the man of the people, like Sam Bankman-Fried. He saw that Sam Bankman-Fried had a bad rep. Like people, BitBoy and a lot of big influencers were getting fed up with him and his efforts to further regulation on DeFi and things. And he's like, hey, if I do this, I could really basically take this guy out and not get flack for it, because he already has such a bad rep. Like people, and it might even help promote his reputation as, a savior for crypto.
I think that's even a side story too, that if you think about would the coming regulation that was proposed that SBF was a part of or whatever, would that hurt Binance's business? If it would, that would be the story, right? Okay, you're gonna either stop doing this or we're gonna take you out. Boom. Like I could totally see that happening. So, and then on the side, I would say, okay, this can be good. This is a good time. He's weak right now. This is a good time for me to get back into the US, maybe stuff like that. So I think I could just see that as a power move of, hey, don't hurt our business model. Maybe they want to come back to the US eventually, and they want more. They don't like what you're saying. So I could totally see that.
Okay, so if I could get a little more conspiratorial, and obviously none of this is proven. So
Yeah.
basically, the balance sheet was leaked to CoinDesk. Do you think maybe Binance was involved in that leaking of the balance sheet?
Well, I think anyone who wanted to see FTX fail could have leaked that. Binance seems to have a vested interest in overtaking that business. So that's not the craziest thing I would hear. I'll say that.
Okay, it's very very interesting. And so it's very interesting how everybody thought that Tether would crash the market and Mount Gox,
Yeah.
and it becomes Mashinsky and Sam Bankman-Fried. Like those were like, what do you think about that?
Yeah.
Like how things just come out of left field.
It seems like forever ago that Do Kwon
Do
was
Kwon, yeah.
yeah, just Terra Lunaing it up. And then I remember when that first came out, I was like, I think I was on Jim Rat's show and he was talking about, what does this mean for stable coins? And I'm like, I think they fail from time to time. I don't think maybe they'll come back. I don't think it's a big deal. Wow, did that turn into a big deal? That turned into, all the senators and stuff want to propose stablecoin regulation. And then Machinsky happens. We're like, whoa, okay. Are we at like 80% max pain now? Like, what's going on? Like, that's not like when you go back and look at how the process actually worked, it was so obvious. Like, you're paying people with last week's revenue and stuff like that. So it's like, obviously, it's not sustainable, especially in a bear market. And then with FTX, again, it's been what, 2 days maybe since we had any information about it or any signal that something is coming. But wow, I don't think I was hoping the Feds wouldn't hope they would save Christmas, but I don't know. SBF is seeming to make Christmas even less of a even less possible of a good time for crypto holders right now. Like
Yeah,
but it's getting us closer to max pain, which I
Max
see the
Payne.
silver lining there. I see that at least.
Yeah, yeah, it's very crazy, very very
I
interesting.
kept asking people like, who's the next one to fail? Nobody mentioned FTX, so that's
He was the golden boy. He
he
was the
was
golden boy. He was the
richest guy in
all over the
crypto.
television.
I saw the David Rubenstein interview. I was like, oh, this guy seems pretty good. And like I said, I try not to question when stuff like this happens. I try not to question his character until I really see some damning stuff come out. Again, maybe it was he just lost control of stuff. He didn't make the best deals. Maybe his business acumen wasn't there, but certainly an intelligent guy. Has convictions about crypto. Maybe not the ones that we think are the best convictions, but I don't know. I don't see him going away. I think I don't know. I can't see him disappearing like Machinsky and Do Kwon. I wouldn't put him in that category. Not yet. I'd have to see some other stuff first.
Okay, fair enough. And I guess we're gonna have the conversation about Bankman-Fried to be continued because it's all unfolding very fast, and we're learning a lot of new things. So I
Yeah.
guess that's a good bridge to maybe the 4-year cycle. So interestingly, I was so there's the big question is whether the 4-year cycle is still intact, right? So you have the halving, and then a year later, it really shoots up. I think then 2 years later, it tops out really. And
Mhm.
so far, it's the third time. We're in the third cycle, right? This is the
Something like that.
Yeah, so things have been working like clockwork, and everyone thought this cycle was different. Benjamin Cowan talked about lengthening cycles and diminishing returns, and there
Mm.
were diminishing returns, but there were no lengthening cycles. Topped out pretty much according to when it was supposed to in the cycle, right? That we had the top pretty much 2 years after the halving. So now it's very interesting. So I was thinking maybe the interest rates could break it. But interestingly enough, so I think according to the halving schedule, you could correct me if I'm wrong. The bottom's supposed to be in within the next 2 weeks. Does that make
Hmm.
sense? I think
I I haven't read into that one now, but I mean we can go with that though.
yeah. Basically a year from the top, pretty much. So I think it should be November, December, and that's conveniently coinciding with Powell said the 70 this or the next rate hike is going to be the last 75-point basis hike, which would be very bullish if they start going down to 25-point rate hikes, and then obviously pausing, and they're going to slash. I think they've pretty much shown that they intend to go back to pretty much zero interest rates. And then also, the bottom happening within the next couple of weeks is also conveniently coinciding with the FTX debacle. So it's interesting how things are really coming into place. So what's your take on the 4-year cycle? And I guess, yeah.
I don't think the happening, it seems like this event that, when it happens, everyone expects all this stuff to happen. Every time we go through it, I'm just like, really? Is that it? Like, I think the first couple of times I was like, okay, big event, crypto, but I don't think it plays a bigger role than the broader macro trends. I don't think it plays a bigger role as, inflation, CPI, unemployment. It's one of those things that it always seems to be the one of the events that nerds get excited about, and the technology people, but the broader crypto ecosystem, I don't think people really rely on it as an indicator for a lot of stuff, or at least I don't think that I don't, at least. I think it could cause a rally. Like if we're in a bull run already, maybe it causes something different to happen. But if we're in the bear market, I don't know. I just don't see it having a huge impact on things. But I don't follow like the cycles as closely as a lot of other people either. So a lot of my experience from the markets is anecdotal.
Okay. No, because I know Million of the Moon did a video on it. A lot of people did a video on it, but basically the way it works is, so you have the halving, then 2 years later is the top, and I mean, Bitcoin's been following it pretty closely from what I know, and it makes a lot of sense. Why? Because the liquidity hitting the market gets cut in half, right? So the miners rewards gets cut in half. So what essentially everything's supposed to be priced in, meaning future supply hitting the market is priced in, but then it's not, because all of a sudden, you have a certain amount hitting the market and then half of it's gone.
Well, I want to see how many miners go broke too. Like, I think those metrics are stuff people aren't watching very much. Like how low do we have to go, and how like unprofitable to be for the miners to just be like, nope, we're done. Like, and where do they go? Do they go back to China? Do they stay here too?
Well, I think if the miners go broke, the supply hitting the market's the same. It's just the concentration, meaning the amount the amount miners individually make is going to go up because there's less miners, so it's split amongst a smaller group. Is that
they go up, but the bankruptcies, this what if they have a bunch of
you're saying that's going to cascade the market?
I think that is a factor that's not put into a lot of the charts, especially because if they go bankrupt and there's a lot of investment going on, and maybe they have Bitcoin on their balance sheet, where's that going to go? It's probably to pay the investors, right? And are they going to accept Bitcoin, or do they want cash in this environment? Cash seems pretty good. Yeah, I never thought I'd say that, but yeah, cash seems pretty good.
Cash is king.
So yeah, it's I don't know, man. Like I go back and forth. I see a lot of people talking. We're not going to get to bull market till 2024, 2025. I think the silver lining for our community is Pulsechain launching, and like that is going to be. I think it's unreasonable to assume there won't be a mini bull run in our particular products, regardless of the macros, regardless of the broader trends or what. If we're still going sideways in March and Pulsechain launches, for example, just throwing it out there, there's billions of dollars in this. What's the OA going to do too? Is he going to ensure parity, all this stuff going on? So I think those are the things that in our ecosystem, regardless of the cycles and the Bitcoin happening and all the miners and going broke and all that stuff. I think the most interesting thing, and the reason that we should be excited in crypto right now, and the reason other people should be coming in this ecosystem, is this is going to be there's no other community going to have this. Like it's not going to exist. There's no other launch to be so anticipated as this one. And that's what's going to give us like that could even take us from sideways into the next bull run. That could, Richard could Richard could make the sideways action into bull after Pulsechain launches, maybe 2 or 3 months after that. Everyone's like, let's deploy the capital. We're ready, baby.
So that's a good question. So you think that Hex and then it would be once Pulsechain PulseX launch, could they make like all-time highs and massive run-ups in a Federal Reserve tightening environment, or an environment where Bitcoin is not really doing so well because of maybe the tightening and, like you said, maybe the minor companies going out of business, which is happening. I mean, or inevitably will happen should the price continue to cascade. So can you see that kind of decoupling?
Well, at least for a temporary period, because there's so much capital going to be unlocked. I mean, there's $2 or $3 billion in the sacrifice that was put in. And now a lot of people, when it comes out, they're going to sell. They're going to take a haircut. They're going to do whatever because they got bills to pay, because they need money for whatever reason. But especially if that coincides with some sort of bottom, which it could be. I mean, the timing seems to be working out pretty well. I mean, knock on wood. I mean, that would be if we bottom in June, I don't know. I think that's still going to be okay for if we launched in March and we bottom in June. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of the scenario where I'm not bullish on Pulsechain and having this bull run, regardless of market conditions. As long as Pulsechain launches sometime next year, regardless of when the bottom happens, probably sometime next year, speculation. I can't see there not being this just like funneling of, all the capital gets unlocked, not just for Pulsechain stuff, all the projects launching on Pulsechain, all those tokens come out too. You see what Hex did when nobody cared, nobody wanted it, nobody had anything to do with it for a long time. It, went up 10,000x. Why can't Pulsechain, when it launches and all the tokens around it and stuff supporting it, Hex and all this stuff, why can't we use that, 10 times more capital and 10 times more people inside of it when it launches? Why can't that be, the craziest bull run you've ever seen?
But
why not?
During a Bitcoin, what's it called when the price goes? During a Bitcoin, like let's say, what's the word when it like just dips like crazy and like
wick?
Yeah, but the stage shakeout, like during a Bitcoin.
Anxiety, depression. I'm not sure which one that is on the chart.
Yeah, no, okay, so Bitcoin is trading between 10 and 20,000. So Bitcoin is trading between 10 and 20,000. Can you see that happening? That's a good question, because I think a lot of the reason why Hex maybe was able to make such all-time highs, was during the bull markets, because people were in Bitcoin, which went up a lot, and then they went back down into Hex, which had thinner liquidity, and that was really able to shoot. Like, people rolled over their gains from other cryptos into Hex, but now everyone in crypto is in the loss. So could you see?
Well, the retail is. I think a lot of the bigger players, they sold November. They already sold because they knew what was happening. They sold November, December, January, and they're stockpiling the dry powder to buy back in. And they got teams of people. I mean, you just imagine how many people are out there scouring for projects that have these type of fundamentals that are intact. So I think on the retail side, that's true. A lot of people just, they don't have any gains to reinvest. They don't have much to trade. They want to they want to, like, no matter what the price is, they're going to sell some. But there's all this dry powder of a lot of the bigger players and a lot of the Hex wells too. All the Hex wells. Why is the price down? It's not because retail sold it all. A lot of wells sold during this period too. So I think, one, there's a lot of dry powder out there. Two, retail is a part of it, but I think of retail as the portion that builds the community. They keep the momentum going. They're onboarding people, they're promoting it, they're doing things like that. But I don't think they have a lot of control over the market as the whales, the institutional investors, the people with dry powder waiting for something like Pulsechain to launch to deploy it. So I think the 2 or 3 billion that was in it, I don't even think we need the people taking profits from other coins to come into it. I think the people who will come into it will have already taken those profits and are looking for the next best thing to go up, 100, 200, 300x, like they did for Solana, like they did for Polkadot and all this stuff. And they're going to redeploy it into Airchain because it's the only one that makes sense. There's nobody else launching some crazy thing that gives you a copy of all your coins and already has a strong community. And I don't even think we need their capital. I think there's enough capital for us to run up a crazy amount within the community already, because our community, I mean, it's not just Hex, it's not just Pulsechain. Like the stuff you can trade right now, there's Hedron, there's billions of dollars of Hedron out there. There's Maximus. Every time the Maximus guys launch a new coin, look at how much money goes into it. It's not just other coins. It's like, look how much you can imagine. A lot of that is USDC getting converted over. Boom, new capital being deployed. So I wouldn't underestimate the new capital that can flow into our ecosystem. And I don't even count on anyone else providing it. Maybe some institutional investors, maybe some whales who sold early, but I think within the community, before Hex was so small, like I said, we did 10,000x.
Yeah,
we are set up. We have the biggest runway ever to make this, to bring crypto back. I mean, literally, Pulsechain launching could bring crypto back. And does it decorrelate? Does it decouple? Does it have a mini bull run and just kind of fade into sideways again? Who knows? But it's going to be. I'm trying to say that, heck, this ecosystem, one of the unique things about it that makes it so special is we don't need other people's money. We really don't, in order to make, mad gains. We don't need other people's money. They're nice to have, but we have enough to do on our own.
there are a lot of rich people here. I mean, there are a lot of very wealthy people in this community just from getting in early, and now they have a lot of cash.
And you see what my retirement plan is.
Wait, where do we get that shirt?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think maybe some t-shirt site. I don't know. Just Google for like Hex retirement plan t-shirt and Google shopping, and you should find it.
All right. Well, I'll wear it over the suit.
I like to see this with a fake tuxedo suit. That'd be cool.
That I'd for sure wear. Okay, so I guess since we're already talking about we're talking about Pulsechain launch. Obviously, Richard Hart had the tweet. He was talking about, first of all, I would want you to. He said basically, Team A and B are working to see which one would get to launch first, and he said PulseX is doing very well. That was very interesting to me because he never talks about Pulsechain launch. At least since it didn't launch in May, he very rarely talks about it. Now he's talking about it. So I guess if you could first shed light on what the Team A and B thing is as a software engineer, as a security engineer, and then you could tell us what that means in terms of when the launch will happen, if you have a time frame you have in mind that in which you think it would launch in.
Well, I think Team A and B, not to be confused with Red Team and Blue Team, because Red Team and Blue Team actually comes from a security concept of having someone attack a network and having someone try to defend or try to understand how the attack succeeded and how to fix the attack. So that's Red Team versus Blue Team. Kind of, skipping over a lot of details. That's kind of how it works in the industry.
So you're talking about fourth grader. You're talking about fourth grader.
It's like you got somebody attacking and someone trying to learn how to stop the attack that way. And that was all the BSC stuff. So all that's gone away. All the BSC bugs, just throw them away because they don't exist anymore because we're not doing that. We're doing ETH 2.0. So when that happened, I was kind of, Richard talked about, there's not going to be any extra delays, all that stuff. And my first thought was, you just switched the entire network. Like, how? Not that we have a timeline, not that we know not that we know where the roadmap is, and if you change something, not that we'd even know about it, but like that's not no work. There's work to be done. But I thought about it for a while, and then I heard him talk some more about it, and I thought, okay, I'm pretty sure Richard's been planning this. He for months now. He knew ETH 2.0. Maybe in mid-May he was like, oh, I don't know if we're gonna make it or not. I don't know if we're gonna beat him to market.
That was the pivot. That's why I didn't launch, because he's like, we're doing ETH 2.0.
Well, that's one possibility too, I guess. But I think even back then he saw this coming, and he said, okay. And I'm speculating here. Like I imagine he was like, okay, let's let it launch. If it fails, we know what to do. If it succeeds, maybe we'll just fork it because all this BSC stuff is causing all these delays and problems and all this stuff. So in that way, it's kind of bullish on the launch, because now we know there's no security problems to take care of. There's no testing really needs to be done. ETH 2.0 is, they've been testing it. What's it been, a few weeks now? Seems fine. So, and if there is some like crazy bug that comes out, we know ETH 2.0 is going to fix it. We're going to take that patch. Going to be fine. So I think that when the other day when he said the red and blue team, or the A and B team,
Maybe.
that's something he's had for a while. Like that's something that, you know, it sounds like we joke about the varsity and junior varsity we have, but honestly, I'm not even sure if it's JV and varsity. I think it's more like team A and team B, like literally two teams of competent developers. I mean, maybe one's more senior than the other, whatever, but they are competing on maybe, you know, they probably have a code base. They forked it. They're competing on different features, different ways to go. But I think they're all striving towards the same goal of, okay, maybe there's a decision. Hey, we're going to go this way, or we're going to go this way. And, you know, we don't need everyone to work on one way. We want one of you to finish. This is how we incentivize you. Maybe, you know, you get extra tokens or whatever. Not that Richard would ever pay anybody for anything.
No expectations.
Yeah, no expectations, but maybe you get a cool prize if you get this thing to market quicker. So that sounds like what's happening now. And when he said that the other day, I'm not gonna lie, it did give me kind of a tingling feeling of like, whoa, you know, maybe there is a sense of urgency. Maybe Hex Birthday 3 is coming up. Maybe, you know, bottom bear market's coming up. Maybe
documentary.
Documentary's ready. I mean, it's just I believe it's ready. That's just what I believe it's ready, and they're just waiting on Richard to say it's go time. So all the FUD going around, you know, maybe he does have a sense of urgency now, especially since the pivot. He knows a lot of people were kind of, you know, the air went out of the room for a minute of like, oh God, another, you know, delay possibly. So I think he does have more of a sense of urgency than he had, you know, last month or the month before. And now he knows there's a network that we're forking that doesn't have all these bugs too. He's pretty confident in that. So when it launches, I try. There's nothing I can control about it. And everything in life, I try to not worry about things I can't control. So I keep saying January in my own mind. But when we get to December and it's not launched, I'll be like, all right, March, must be March then. I'll just keep pushing it out because I don't want to like worry about it when nothing I can do. But you can't deny, I was talking to Gerardo about this yesterday, like it is, when it launches, like people are excited. When Pulsechain is a meme for a reason. Like people are excited for a reason. Like this is, like we just talked about a few minutes ago, unlocking an enormous amount of capital, enormous amount of trading opportunities, enormous amount of content that's going to be created from all the tutorials, all the stuff, all the communities are going to finally be like, whoa, Pulsechain launched. Oh, that's amazing. Let me come over now. All that stuff is going to happen. And so people are excited for a reason. I don't know why they get so depressed and so anxious and so ask Richard for a refund, like figuratively and literally.
Like there's expectations.
As if there were expectations.
Yeah.
Like he promised you there would be no expectations. That's the only promise he ever made, is you expect nothing. So expect nothing. And, you know, if you have no desires, you have no disappointments. I would look at it that way.
Yeah. So this was actually my take in one of the recent videos. It's like nobody should be complaining about Pulsechain not coming out yet. And the reason why is because if you're an OG, right, you're already rich. So go off and do your rich people things. Like go buy your Lambos and your mansions. Go on your vacation.
Like everyone complaining is broke. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, no. So if you're a pleb like myself, now's really the time where you can cover some serious ground. You could rack up those T-shares. We're down over 90%. You can start closing the gap between yourself and those people that got in early. It's such an opportunity. It's such a win-win. Like I don't understand why people are complaining. And not only that, you get everything copied over onto the Pulsechain. Once Pulsechain launches, you have to pick which chain you're gonna buy Hex on. But right now, you get it on both chains. So why is anyone complaining? OG, you're rich. Pleb, now's the time to get to work.
Yeah, I explained this the other day. The human psychology part that you really have to overcome for investing, delayed gratification, all that stuff is, we're at primitive instincts, our feelings are we need to see other people do something and it be successful before we do it.
Yep.
Like, can you imagine like early humans like, oh, we're going to go eat this thing off the tree, but we're going to let somebody do that. And if they don't die, then we're going to eat it. But if they die, we know it's bad. So you can do that analogy for the markets too. It's like, oh, people only want to buy stuff when it's going up. They never want to buy it when it's crazy low. But to get that 10,000x, to do all these things it takes to invest really well, you need to like be it's not contrarian, but it's just like you have to realize like your own psychology and what you were born with and what helped our ancestors survive this world. And you have to be like, that's great for the natural world, but investing, the market psychology, the chart, totally different. You need to buy, of course, when you buy a scam, it can go to zero. But if there's a product that you're convinced is a good product, you've seen it do well before, we're in a market cycle, and you don't buy it when it's at the lowest, and you only buy it when it's going up, you reap what you sow. Like that's what's going to happen. You have to reverse that psychology in order to win these games.
So you said that when you interviewed me, and I don't think I gave that take the respect it deserved.
Did I? I know I said it sometime, but I was like, oh, it's funny enough. It was with you.
I rewatched the interview and I saw you say that. I'm like, wow, that is such a good take, because yeah, people, it's literally when it comes to crypto and stocks, it's so contrary to what people normally do in nature and even in life today. Like, for I guess quick example that would come to my mind is like, you don't want to go on this roller coaster until your friend goes on it or something and says it's not really that scary or whatever. And when it comes to crypto, it's the opposite. You don't want to wait till everyone gets in. You want to get in first. That is a very, very good. That's actually an unbelievable take. I really, really appreciate it. And that's pretty much what happened with me. So when I saw Hex when it was under a penny, I'm like, oh, this seems a little crazy. Everyone's calling it a scam. And I put it on my Coinbase watch list, and then it goes up and up and up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get in. Everyone's getting rich. But thankfully for Hex, right, we get to lock up and promise that we're not going to sell in order to earn that yield. And that really, even though, yeah, it's not like getting in at the OG prices, you are going to benefit from the multiples in the future,
well, the market cycles too, they give you always get a second chance, but 9 times out of 10, especially with something like Hex, it's going to make, higher lows, right? So the next market cycle, yeah, you're going to get a second chance. There's going to be another, 2026, next bear market, there's going to be another dump. All these coins are going to be for sale. But is Hex going to be, at a penny again, or 3 cents or 2 cents? Why would it be? If everything keeps making, higher lows, then you're going to be buying it at 30, 40, 50 cents more likely than you would be at the times now. So yeah, it's like everyone has a second chance, but like you're killing your multiples. You're eating into your profit by waiting
into the profit,
but waiting to buy it. But if you buy it and then wait, that's the funny thing. If you wait to buy it, you're missing out. But if you buy it and wait, you're participating in the system. You're eating, the inflation's gone for you. You're making it up with staking and all that stuff. So it literally like gives you the winning formula. Like Hex is the winning formula for crypto.
The winning formula. Yeah, that's a great point. And all that time that you're waiting to buy, you're also not earning the yield that had you been staking, you would have been earning over all that time. So that is some great points. Yeah. And I guess moving on to the Pulsechain launch. First question is, have to ask it. I'm sorry. This is the question that when I put it in the thumbnail, it gets like it way overperforms my normal viewership.
Okay.
You can answer it however you want. But will Pulsechain and or PulseX do a 10,000x in under 2 years?
I mean, I think 10,000x is the meme, and I'll frame it like this. I'll say that you got to keep in mind that 10,000x, Hex did 10,000x from the all-time low to the all-time high. That was not on launch. That was not on day one. So if the question is, will Pulsechain do a 10,000x from its day one price? That didn't happen to Hex. So I would say it's unlikely for Pulsechain. But every time everything launches in crypto, there's this euphoria, there's this new thing, there's this shiny object. And I think that may last longer than most crypto stuff with PulseChain, because we've been waiting on it, so long now, and there's so many people involved and so much capital involved. But eventually,
more eyes on it.
More eyes, yeah. Eventually, it has to dump. So what that all-time low will be once it dumps for the very first time, that seems like, if you look at Hex's chart stuff, that seems like the best time. If you would have bought Hex when it dumped at the first time, that was when it hit an all-time low. I think it was like 13 days or something like that afterwards. I can't remember the exact number, or 39 days, something like that. So will PulseChain do 10,000x from its all-time lows? I think it has every opportunity to do what Hex did. I mean, some people say it's different. Some people say, oh, it can't do what Hex did because there's too many people in it now. But you launch in a bear market. So when it dumps, it's going to dump. I mean, like, I don't know. So there's all these other caveats too. Like, will it even dump? I've talked to people and they say, some people don't even think the PulseChain price will dump, or it'll take a lot longer to dump because there's so many people waiting to buy it the first, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, maybe something like that.
Do you think it's going to dump below the sacrifice phase?
That's a great question. If it does, it would
say yes. Please say yes.
Day one. That's the thing. That's the question is, like, will people let it go below that? If it's launching in a bear market, it's more likely people will, because there gonna be a lot of people selling it, but there's also gonna be a lot of people buying it. So that's like the conundrum is, like, there's so many people with dry powder who can't wait to get more PulseChain, and there's so many people who have no liquidity who can't wait to get that liquidity and sell a good portion of their bag. So will those two equal it out and it won't go below the SAC price? I think if any new crypto has a chance to do things that has never happened before in an unbelievably positive way, it's PulseChain. Will it continue? So I think the question nobody's asking is, what's PulseChain going to be in a year or two, or how is it going to react to the new bear market in 2026? Everyone's like, oh, when it launches, what X is going to be? How long until to get 10,000X? 2 years, all this stuff. What about the next bear market? How will the community continue to grow? And will it be the shiny, like, will it do what Hex was supposed to do? Like, Hex was supposed to be a decorrelated asset. Right? Like, a lot of people are like, oh, it's decorrelated. Don't care about the bear market. It's not going to do what Bitcoin's going to do. Well, a lot of people had a lot of conviction, speaking that, and it made a lot of sense. There's a lot of good ways you could say that too, but it didn't. It went down 95%, or so. Will PulseChain in 2026, if assuming that's the next, the top of the bull, 2025-ish, next bear's 2026, will it dump 95%, or will it be dump 20% and it be the shining, like, whoa, all this capital is super safe in this product called PulseChain, and maybe PulseX, maybe Hex is stronger then too. I mean, it has to be stronger by that point, I imagine. That's the question nobody's really talking about. Like, what's going to happen the next market cycle? Will PulseChain be that clear winner? Or will it just be, another one that's you get a really good deal buying and until the next run? So I'm kind of looking like 5 to 10 years out on some of this stuff, because I think that's the question nobody's talking about. So
if I could press you with the question that nobody's talking about, what do you think? If you have to pick one, I know there's really no way of knowing, and that's
like, what's the regulatory environment going to be in 5 years? Like, there's so many questions where I'm like, is this the last chance for mad gains? Like in America, at least. Like, maybe in Singapore, maybe it's like that for another 10 years. But like in America, are we going to have this Wild West in crypto? Are they going to clamp down on it? Like, that's what's kind of hard to make a decisive decision on that.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. There are a lot of variables that can play out in one way or the other, which would influence as to how the situation would play out.
But the cool thing about Hex is, the cool thing about RH products too, is I don't see them becoming Bitcoin anytime soon. I mean, eventually Hex will become that. Okay, if you invest in 2030, you're not expecting a 10,000x anymore. You're expecting you're expecting more traditional, like, you're expecting Bitcoin's X's, right? Like 2, 3, 4, 5x. I see Hex becoming that.
But the yield is always there, though. Like,
but the yield's always there. Yeah, exactly. You're not factoring in the price appreciation as much as you used to, especially in the early days. But PulseChain, like PulseX, they got a lot of deflationary aspects about them. They got a lot of different things going on than Hex. What do they do if there's less of them?
That leads me into my next question. So, what game theory do you prefer? I know you go very in depth in game theory in your streams, very technical. So, do you prefer inflation to protect the price or deflation to protect the price? This Matty Allen said this was my best question, so I had to say it again.
Good question. Yeah, I think the concepts are overrated. I think it's a good question, but I think that evaluating a token based on it being deflationary or inflationary, you're kind of missing the bigger picture of, everyone's like, inflation bad, blah, blah, blah. Inflation is not bad. If we didn't inflate the currency, we couldn't grow, right? We can't grow the pie unless we inflate stuff. So high inflation, is high inflation bad in Hex? I mean, it seems to be doing okay if you're staking a long period of time, right? I mean, if you're not staking, it's eating you up. If you're staking for 30 days, you're not getting nearly as good a deal as 5555 people and all that stuff. So
I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, I think that when I'm evaluating a coin, I don't really look at inflation and deflation as much as I look at like the fundamentals, like the tokenomics. I look at, and I know that's part of it, but it's not like I invest, I like this coin because it's deflationary, or I like this coin because I'm protected from inflation by staking it. It's more like I need to see the entire picture of it. So yeah, that's just not a metric that I like put in a bucket. Everyone likes buy and burn. Everyone likes low supply. They seem to like low supply stuff. But hey, they used to like low supply, but now the highest appreciating asset ever, or going to be, I suspect will be at some point. Hex did 10,000x. It's pretty inflationary. It's not deflationary. It's so like I just don't like measuring. I just think it's an overrated way of measuring and evaluating coins.
Well, I'd say it's because of the inflation that it really was able to do that, because the inflation is what makes people promise not to sell, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's not the inflation and it's not the deflation that makes it important or make it pump or anything like that. It's how does it work within the system? How does it work within how Hex is designed? How does it work within how PulseX is designed?
Okay, so
that's what brings people on.
Let me rephrase. So which token has better game theory, Hex or PulseChain and PulseX?
I need to see what's going to be built around PulseChain. I think PulseX initially will launch with the better fundamentals, game theory, stuff like that. But I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be building stuff around PulseChain to give it a leg up eventually. So I think in the first couple of years, I think PulseChain, for example, would have more gains than PulseX will have more gains in the first couple of years, but I think PulseChain will win eventually just because it's something you can build stuff around PulseX, but when you have an L1, you can really build stuff around L1. You see all the derivatives for Hex. It's not an L1. Like you can really build stuff around PulseChain. So, and I think the Maximus guys are going to do that. I'm very excited about, it launching. It's one of the most things I'm excited about launch is seeing what products the Maximus guys start building for PulseChain. They've already built all kinds of cool stuff for Hex, but now they got PulseChain coming up. So, I don't know, man. It's like, do you like 2 scoops of ice cream or 3? It's like
3.
I guess you could say 3, but also I'm like, you still got ice cream. Like, if they both do 10,000 X's, but it takes one 3 years and one 5 years, like I'm not going to be mad about it. So you can't lose in this ecosystem.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So it seems like you're most bullish on PulseChain long run, PulseX short run.
I think so. I think just because I believe a lot of people are going to build around PulseChain, and I think PulseX is going to be amazing, but it's just not an L1. And I think most of the X's are in L1s. And, but I think they're going to help each other. I think, especially with the Pulsechain wallet, I'm curious to see, maybe there's a wallet coin, maybe it just burns PLS, maybe it burns PLSX, maybe it burns both. I don't know. I don't know what the tokenomics of the wallet are. Maybe there's a new token. But it's just hard to say, trying to predict something before a launch is hard because you haven't even seen what it can do, and you haven't seen what it can become yet. So I don't think we're actually going to know the potential for at least the first 6 months. Then we'll be like, whoa, Maximus guys are building this crazy positive feedback loop for Pulsechain. And now maybe a lot of people from PulseX come up, they're like, you know what? I was like 70-30 and now I'm more 50-50, in favor of, or balancing it out, Pulsechain, PulseX. So we can't lose. We can't lose.
Yeah. That's interesting. What I say is, so I'm a little bit, so a lot of people don't talk about this. So a lot of people say that PulseX is going to do better in the beginning. And I hope it does, because I got in on that sacrifice. But, so you have the Pulsechain sacrifice had 30,000 wallets, I believe, maybe 35,000.
Sounds right.
And then you had PulseX had 120,000. And I'm thinking that all 120, all those people like myself, want Pulsechain. So I feel like that just creates just a way bigger demand.
But how long does that last? How long does that demand last?
I think 2 years, because I think, and also you see all these new tokens, they're all putting Pulse in the name. They're getting a lot of money for their sacrifice. It's getting a lot, like they're like just from the merit of putting Pulse in their ticker. It's kind of like I mentioned, we kind of have, so back in the .com bubble, you had everyone added .com to their ticker, and their stock went up like crazy. Pulsechain now is kind of that new hot ecosystem where people are putting the Pulse on the ticker, and they're able to raise a tremendous amount of money. That just shows you the merit and the bullishness, and I guess, yeah.
I agree. The branding is better for Pulsechain. I'll say that.
It's really indicative.
I think a lot of people who come to it, they'll say, "Oh, Pulsechain. Oh, what's PulseX? Oh, it's a DEX thing. Okay, yeah, I want Pulsechain." I can see that being the response to a lot of new people coming in.
Better meme. Yeah, like ETH. Okay, fair enough. Okay, fair enough. I guess let's move on to the outrage marketing. Now, I think that's been causing a little bit of a stir lately. What is your take on the outrage marketing strategy?
I think it's working. I mean, how could it not? I may or may not have a song coming out which says the same thing too. So
you're a musician?
I've been known to rap a little bit. I do vocals, and I write lyrics and stuff, and I got some people producing stuff for me from time to time. So yeah, maybe hopefully by the end of the month I'll be able to share something about that. But a part of it is about outrage marketing, and it's just like, it works. Like, you look at the metrics, you look at, I've said before that if I would have found Richard in 2021, late 2021 or early 2022, and he was just doing all the Gucci stuff, I'd be like, this is not my mentor, and be like that. So I'm so glad I found him earlier when he was like not doing that stuff. So I can see how it turns a lot of people off, but he said this before, he's not in it for us. We're already in. Like, you can be nostalgic all you want. You can miss the old Richard. You can miss the Hex t-shirt and short hair, just sitting in the chair for 5 hours, or the long hair version of that, all that stuff a couple years beforehand. But you got to look at the big picture. You got to zoom out and be like, what is he doing? Is he smart? Do you think that the stuff he's doing and you don't understand, do you think that's him doing something weird, or maybe it's a deficiency in you? I go the latter. I'm like, if he does something or says something or whatever I don't understand, I'm like, well, he knows more than me, so it must be working. So you look at all the numbers, you look at all the holders, you look at all he's grew his following from just a few thousand. I was watching some video the other day from 5 years ago, and he mentioned on stream, oh, I should probably tweet this out. I've only got like 5,000 followers. I was like, oh my God. Oh, did you really only like when I first started listening? You only had 5K on Twitter, stuff like that, and probably the same on YouTube. So what he's doing is working. That's what I would say. And has he done things or said things he wished he would have done differently? Sure, everybody does. I'm sure although he's extremely confident, I don't know if he would ever like. I think maybe that kind of like steers him sometimes where he doesn't. I was talking to who was it, a crypto stylist a couple months ago, and she spent some time with him, and she's like a fashion person and all this stuff. And I think she was helping him pick out clothes or doing some wardrobe thing. And she was just like, everything he wears it with 100% confidence. I mean, you've seen the streams where maybe his face is red or something, and everyone's like, oh, what, what's going on? He is completely oblivious to any aspect that isn't directly like that. He's not. You can't make fun of him. Like you can't. He has supreme confidence for all this stuff. He is oblivious to any like kind of criticism, and it's not in a bad way though. Like I think he sees things. I think he hears people complain. I think that has changed him. Not that he would come out and say it because he doesn't want people to think they have that kind of power, but I think that he does make decisions based on a lot of the feedback he gets, indirectly or directly. But his supreme confidence is what makes the bullish case for being the best founder ever. Like he is unshakable. He really is. Like he is the rock of rocks.
Teflon.
He's like, yeah, he's like whatever. Yeah, nothing sticks, man. So I think, man, I forgot what the question was.
Outrage marketing.
Outrage marketing. So that's why he does it. He's not here for you. You're already in. He's in it for the next 200K, the next 500K. He's in it for those million followers. When in a year or two from now, when you see Richard Hart's account and he's got 1 million, subs or 1 million followers, maybe then you'll be like, okay, maybe it makes sense now. Maybe what he was doing is working. So if you can't see it now, just kind of zoom out and kind of look at the plan.
Yeah. So one of the things I was thinking is that like the difference between everyone saying, oh yeah, Richard Hart, the outreach marketing is amazing, and oh, Richard's got to stop with the outreach marketing, it's terrible. The difference between that, the difference is basically the price being 51 cents and the price being 3 cents.
That's a good point too. Yeah, I think the emotions in the bear market will make people like look for a reason. I think that's a huge problem with people in general, like staying accountable. Like Richard is not the reason you're broke right now. Richard is not the reason you're down right now. Richard didn't do any of this stuff. He made the product. He's the one that you should be thanking for the product to give you the tools to make your own decisions, to have a chance at all this stuff. So, but I think, when things aren't going well or you're over leveraged or, whatever is going on in your life, I feel for people. I mean, there's a lot of people struggling out there.
Yeah.
But I really try to hold myself accountable too. Like if I, there's sometimes I'll see some tweet about some drama and I'm just like, that is so dumb. Like I have a really good tweet. I could say it's very clever. And I'll type it out and I'll be like, no, like what is this going to do? Like who's benefiting from this? I'm just going to say something. Am I just feeding the drama? Because like when you participate in the drama, you become part of the drama. So like, why do that? Like, so I kind of stay clear of it as much as I can, because who are you helping? Like, be accountable for yourself, your own actions. But that's so hard when we're not making 10,000x gains right now, like you said. Like we're just kind of like waddling around, hoping for good news, hoping Pulsechain launches. It's hard to do that, but I think I don't know. I'm very mission focused. And, I do it with my channel. I do it with crypto. I do it with my principles and all the things I believe in. So I don't know. I think it's much easier to hold myself accountable, to understand that I am in control of everything I think and feel, and the choices I make in my own life. I enjoy that self-sovereignty, but it comes at a price. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to feel bad, but I ain't going to blame anybody else.
Yeah.
If you want to be that self-made man or self-made woman in crypto, you got to be accountable. You got to hold yourself accountable, and you got to do what it takes to get there. And nobody else exists except you and this mission. And then you'll get it done.
Yeah. And I wanted to say, so people are bummed about the price being down, right? But you look at all the metrics from between now and a year ago, they all I mean, they've all had like basically like followers on Twitter. I think he was under 100,000 a year ago. He's over 262,000.
Yeah.
That's like that's a parabolic run up. Then you look at Hex daily stats every day. He's got you. I think yesterday there were over 250 new holders in Hex, and we're in a bear market. We're getting 100 new stakers, over 200 new holders every single
It
day.
used to be 10 or 20 new holders every day. I can't believe
Yeah.
it's like 200. That's crazy.
How could you say that out? How could anyone say it's not working? And I'm not trying to bash anyone because I know like so I'm a New Yorker and like I'm used to, more of the brash. Like I could tolerate it better. I have more of a stomach for like some craziness and things like that. There are a lot of people like in Hex that are military people. They're from the Midwest. They're very polite. And
Yeah.
I listen, I'm not trying I'm not trying to bash people for not liking it, but if you really step back and you look at it, I mean, how could you say it's not working? The only thing that's down is the price, and that's because it's tied to broader markets. And we went up 10,000x. How could you not have a crash?
Yeah, you don't have to like everything somebody says to be, down for the mission, to like other things they do. That's like another thing too. It's like you don't have to like what they say in order to be in the community. So if you don't like Richard, just like mute him on Twitter. You don't have to unfollow him,
Yeah.
just mute him. Like, and
Yep.
when you're done, when you think, what, it's not that important. Like, okay, what's going to happen? You stop listening to him, you get mad at him, you start venting, you do all this stuff. Maybe what happens if you sell your bags? You just sold your financial future. Why would you even start down that rabbit hole? Like that's when you got to catch yourself and say, what am I here for?
Yeah.
Am I here to just like hang out and to hear nice things from a founder and there never be anything go wrong and never hear any FUD? Or am I here to live my best life because I have been given this carrot called financial freedom by a founder who's fully incentivized and aligned to make all of this stuff happen?
Yeah. With no expectations.
Exactly. But like you don't have to have expectations to see the plan, how it's like, it's I don't know. It's 1 + 1 to me. I've never seen anything so clearly. I pride myself on being like a first principles thinker and like not taking feedback from society, thinking everything from the ground up, making my own decisions, self-sovereignty, like my mind. There's all kinds of contrarian things that I believe in doing all this stuff. And RH is the only founder where I'm like, this dude's going to win. It's obvious. There's nothing but winning. Like his stock, like I said before, his stock is only going to go up. So like, I don't know why it's that hard, but yeah, I've heard a knock at the door. FYI, just going to let you know.
Do we need to wrap? We need to start wrapping?
If you don't mind.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess, can I ask you about Scivive and about the Richard Hart philosophy? Because I don't talk a lot about it. I don't know much about it. You've been retweeted frequently by Richard, reading quotes and discussing it.
Yeah, so I've been on a health, wealth, wisdom journey for a few years now, and Scivive just when I first came across Richard, when I was telling the story, like, it just fit perfectly into it. I think that, like I said before, RHMax was his ideals first, and then his products, and then his mission, and all this stuff. I think that the books, hopefully they'll be in print, and they're already an audiobook. You know, already go on YouTube. SJ has narrated them. Hopefully they'll be in print coming out. That'd be like the coolest thing ever to have Scivive and Fix the World on my bookshelf, like, and maybe even signed by Richard one day. It'd be like one of the coolest things ever. But it's just about becoming the best version of yourself, like by listening to the man who has been there, done that. He's ate all the things. He went from rags to riches, self-made billionaire. Like the super inspiring backstory, backed up by amazing stories and all the facts within all the book. So it's one of those things that I think with a lot of books too, you got to be ready for it. Like you got to be thirsty for knowledge. You got to be thirsty to get in, like become better, and like to listen and be open to consume information and stuff. Because a lot of stuff he talks about is just, and I don't agree with everything in the books, nor do I think anyone agrees with every single thing he says in the books. But a lot of the ideals are just stuff to make you like, he talks about it. The chapters are money, power, respect. He talks about longevity. It just shows you how the world works and like how to like excel in all these different verticals in it. So it's it's not, Naval talks about too, don't take feedback from society, take it from nature and markets. I did that quote the other day on my channel as well. Yeah. Peter Thiel talks about contrarianism, like not by simply taking the other side of everything people say, but questioning it for its own sake, like thinking from first principles, as I mentioned. And I think with the books and the ideas that come from that, you can really look at things from an objective lens, figure out what he's talking about, figure out how they apply to you in your life. And if you're looking to, again, be a better version or be the best version of yourself once you get rich and can own your time and stuff like that, these are kind of like the foundational principles that's worked for him. And if nothing else, you can take them, apply them to your own life. I remember reading it when it wasn't even an edited version. I was on the airplane. I was like, oh, this is so hard to read. There's just all these sentences and notes and editorial stuff everywhere. But SJ has made it in a much more consumable format on YouTube. And I just finished. I have like 10 minutes left to Fix the World today. I think I'm going to fit it in. I'm going to finish it today. I'm going to finish Fix the World. That's the only one I haven't finished because it's only about 5-6 hours long or so. But yeah, it's just, if you believe that the Richards is a force for good, I believe so. If you believe that his products can change the world, can mint millionaires, they've already proven to do that several times over. And if you believe in, especially the longevity part, where don't be pro-death. We need to work on the hard problems. We need to solve these things, if not for yourself, for our children, for the next generation, stuff like that. He wants to do amazing things, and he has a lot of good ideas on how to get started for yourself to make your own dent in the world. And also in Fix the World, he talks about all the social problems we have and ideas on how to solve them. So it's really, I think the whole series is kind of like, I think it was just him talking to someone and just like maybe over a week's period of time, he probably he did like an audio recording and got it transcribed. And it's just really a dump of Richard's brain across a ton of different things in society and the world and how to apply these things to your own life so you can have, he says sex, drugs, rock and roll, money, power, respect, longevity, space, time, how to conquer the world in your own way. That's what it means to me.
And you're certainly making some serious progress towards that conquering the world. It's only been 3 months. You're already at 3,000. It's been six months you've been streaming at. You're at 3,000, and it's compounding. So and as the space gets bigger and Richard's following gets bigger, that really gets to trickle down to you and me. I guess I just to wrap up, I know you've been in, and I appreciate so much you being so generous with your time and coming on. You have been around the crypto space for a while. You've been in and out of many projects. Right now, I mean, this seems pretty Max Payne this seems like Max Payne or pretty close to it.
I tweeted 95% today, I believe.
95%. Wow.
That's what I believe.
And yeah, there are a lot of people that are new here, like myself-ish. I mean, I guess, what would you say? Like, this is obviously not your first rodeo. Is there some hopium that you could leave us off with?
It's up to you. I mean, it's you got to beat that bear like it owes you money. I said that the other day on stream, and I'm like, I'm going to keep using that tagline because that is the most honest, confident, like just like uplifting thing I think I can say with a little bit of swagger. Just to don't get down, don't get in this like ball, curl up in the ball and be like, oh, the bear market, physically or figuratively. Some people, they're walking around fine, but if you talk to them, they're kind of down because of economic situations and all this stuff. But I would just say don't be a statistic, and don't embody the depression, the fear and anxiety that all the market psychology stuff. Like, don't be on that chart. That's just again, it's a statistic. It's what most people do. But if you follow the right people and you're just able to see a long term. I mean, that's what everything's about. Everything in life is about compound interest, good or bad. Everything is about delayed gratification. It's all about using good judgment, having the wisdom to make good judgment. And think of yourself in 2 years. Like, where do you think you'll be? Like, will you be sad about the bear market of 2022, 2023? Will you be embarrassed that you were so upset and asking Richard for refunds and all that stuff just because it's an obvious and natural market cycle we're going through, like that happens over and over and over on the charts. Like you're going to be like where are you going to into your, or will you be rich? Will you be super rich? Will you be retired? Will you be buying your mom a house? Will you be doing all these like good things that these products enable you in the world? And we be smart enough to make good decisions. Like this bear time is the study time. I mean, bear time is where you hunker down, you understand how to succeed. So when the bull comes, you'll be ready. You'll get out of your own way, and you'll be ready to bask in whatever success you set yourself up to do. So that's my hope for everyone out there. They're setting themselves up for their future selves to think the crap out of them. That's what I hope everyone's doing.
Some words of wisdom from an OG. So let's take that to heart. And Max, thank you so much for coming on, taking your time in your busy schedule. And I, again, want to thank you for letting me on your show. It was like such a pleasure then and such a pleasure now. And I hope we could do this again.
Of course, man. Of course. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure, and never get tired of the Patrick Bateman jokes or the librarian or the truth, man. I love your branding. I love it. Oh, I didn't show me it's fake. Oh, it's a fake. It's a fake closet.
Don't look in there.
oh yeah. No. Is the phone gonna ring again? No.
All right. Thank you so much. RHMax, guys. Check him out on YouTube, Twitter. Where else?
I'm at RHMaximalist on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Those are new, so please follow me there if you're on there. And then at RHMax is my channel on YouTube.
Okay, thank you very much. We're gonna link everything. We're gonna link the YouTube in the description and everything.
Awesome, man.
All right. Thank you.